When the storm hit Willow Creek, no one expected the river to rise so fast. By midnight, what were once quiet neighborhoods had become rushing, angry lakes. Water swallowed streets, cars, and fences, turning the familiar world into a swirling, dark sea. From his window, Daniel Reyes watched the flood crash through the darkness. He was just getting ready to move his family to the attic for safety when a sound cut through the roar of the storm. It was a frantic, desperate cry of a dog, terrified and alone. It took Daniel only a moment to recognize the sound. That was Max, the German shepherd belonging to his neighbor, Mrs. Turner. She was a widow in her 70s who had been evacuated earlier that evening. Daniel remembered her begging the rescue team to bring her dog, but Max had bolted in a panic and no one could find him. Now, his helpless cries echoed from across the raging floodwaters. Daniel knew the rescue boats wouldn't be back until morning. The current was getting stronger by the minute. His heart twisted. Max wasn't just a dog. He was part of the neighborhood. Loyal, playful, always running to greet Daniel's little boy with a wagging tail. The thought of him drowning out there, alone in the cold and dark, was unbearable. Without giving himself a second chance to think, Daniel acted. He grabbed a thick rope, tied one end securely around his waist, and anchored the other to a heavy metal beam in his living room. His wife, her eyes wide with fear, grabbed his arm, pleading with him not to go. But Daniel just kissed her forehead and whispered, "I can't let him die." Then he stepped into the flood. The freezing water hit him like a punch, nearly knocking the breath out of his lungs. The current was a monster, pulling at his legs, trying to drag him under. But he fought back, pushing forward with slow, powerful strokes. Every wave tasted of mud and debris. Broken branches and pieces of fencing slammed against him as he battled his way across the churning water. At one point, he lost his grip on the rope and felt himself being swept sideways. Panic tried to creep in, but he forced his mind to focus on one thing, that sound. The frightened whimpers that kept rising and fading with the storm. That was his beacon. After what felt like an eternity, Daniel finally reached the half-submerged porch of Mrs. Turner's house, and there he was. Max, stranded on a tiny patch of dry wood, shaking uncontrollably. His fur was soaked, his paws kept slipping, and his eyes were wide with pure terror. When the dog recognized Daniel, he let out a weak bark, a desperate plea for help. Daniel reached out, grabbing Max by the collar and pulling him close. The dog resisted at first, terrified of the violent water, but Daniel wrapped his arms firmly around him. "I've got you, buddy," he whispered. "We're going home." The swim back was twice as hard. Max, weighing him down, clung to Daniel, making it nearly impossible to keep his balance. Every push through the current felt heavier than the last. Daniel's muscles burned, his lungs screamed for air, and his fingers were going numb from the cold. But the thought of giving up never once crossed his mind. He just kept kicking, fighting for every single inch, until the faint outline of his own house appeared through the sheets of rain. From the doorway, his wife spotted them. She screamed his name and rushed into the rising water to help pull them both to safety. When Daniel finally stumbled onto solid ground, he collapsed to his knees, still holding Max tightly as the grateful dog licked his face. His wife wrapped them both in blankets, her tears of relief mixing with the rain on her cheeks. By morning, the storm had calmed, and word of Daniel's rescue spread like wildfire. Neighbors gathered outside their damaged homes, calling him a hero. When Mrs. Turner was brought back by the rescue teams, she rushed to Daniel, her hands trembling, and hugged him with all the strength she had. And right beside them, wagging his tail proudly, was Max alive because one man dared to swim through a flood for a friend who could unsave himself. Daniel never saw himself as a hero. He just said he did what anyone with a heart would have done. But on a night when the world felt like it was falling apart, he chose courage over fear. And that single act of kindness became the story Willow Creek would remember long after the floodwaters receded. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of heroism don't come from a desire for glory, but from a simple, unshakable refusal to let a friend face the storm alone. Thank you for watching.